The live stream for Let's Travel Together stays open as soon as it goes live. No closing ever. After midnight, even though all the guests are asleep, plenty of night owls still pop in now and then. The tents look pitch black, but they're watching with full seriousness. Maverick's longtime fan Xiao Bai is one of them. A 3-year veteran follower, she's seen every rough patch Maverick has faced and stood by him through it all. No matter who's attacking or defending him, Xiao Bai's always there in the front line of fandom. In today's entertainment world, whenever a star suddenly blows up, rumors about their personal life tend to follow. Maverick was no exception. During his rise to fame, several clickbait accounts claimed he'd been married for years, but never announced it. Xiao Bai and the fans didn't buy it for a second. Let's be real. Every big star gets hit with that marriage rumor sooner or later. Together, they flooded the topic with posts and buried it fast. Let's Travel Together was Maverick's first reality show after his big break. Before he went on, Xiao Bai had been nervous about people trying to manipulate the stream. That's why she stayed up late, watching with eyes wide open. Staying up in a blank live stream was seriously boring, so Xiao Bai would take breaks to scroll through Weibo. That's when she stumbled on Ella's latest post. Ella had just dropped a photo from the event, and since both were big fans of Maverick, they'd kind of crossed paths before. Ella's already there? That's insane fast. Xiao Bai was buzzing. She quickly switched back to the stream, and then, out of nowhere, she heard a familiar voice from the darkness. Caleb, still awake? If you're really not sleeping well, I can keep you company for a bit. Wait, was Maverick actually comforting Caleb? Xiao Bai's eyes filled up instantly. Our Maverick is so kind. Honestly, I'm not jealous at all. Xiao Bai was recording the screen as she listened, and once the over 30-minute comfort session finally ended, she edited the clip and dropped it into the super chat with a fiery post. It's this late and Maverick's still comforting Caleb. Proof enough that Maverick is the best. Xiao Bai was one of Maverick's biggest fans, spending plenty on voting, airport pickups, and even organizing fan rallies. A lot of followers recognized her, and when they saw her post, they piled on likes and started following along. Xiao Bai was glowing from the flood of likes, until she refreshed again and spotted Ella liking her tweet. So Ella had seen it too? Hey Ella, you must be jealous too, right? Maverick's really sweet. Caleb just met him and he's already comforting him like that. I wish Maverick would comfort me like that. Ella shot back almost instantly. Jealous? Please, a two-faced jerk like Maverick? What's sweet about him comforting Caleb at midnight? He only did it because he found out Caleb's orientation. Maverick's just a flashy player. Xiao Bai stared, stunned. Was that really Ella? For a split second, rage flared. But then she paused. Ella was Maverick's biggest fan leader and the super chat moderator. A lot of fans had to go through her just to reach Maverick's team. So it made no sense for Ella herself to say something like that. There was only one other possibility. Ella, were you hacked? It had to be. Otherwise, how could Ella even say that about Maverick? Xiao Bai was dead sure it was a hack. And with Ella not replying after that, her belief only deepened. She immediately shared the chat screenshot in the fan group and super chat, warning others not to fall for it. At that moment, Xiao Bai was absolutely convinced Ella had been hacked. How could their Maverick be anything like what Ella described? Then, just 10 minutes ago, thousands of fans watched live as Maverick got hit with a cake, was exposed as married, had his hand twisted by that girl Ella, and now the scandal breaks. In just 10 minutes, Maverick's fans and random viewers in the stream were left with a memory they'd never forget. Even now, Xiao Bai was still completely in the dark. Her brain had shut down. She'd heard every word, but nothing made sense, so she typed out a live chat message. So, what's actually going on here? The netizens replied in seconds. What's going on? Didn't you know your brother's gone full disaster mode? Let me play teacher for a sec. Your brother Maverick has been married to his wife for 3 years. Before the wedding, he was already living off her, eating her rice, even getting into showbiz on her dime. Then, about a year after tying the knot, he met this bigwig in entertainment named Julian. After that, he started building his career by calling him dad on the bed, while using cash from his sugar daddy to fund a string of young male students. All this just got exposed by Maverick's own wife, or should we say, sister-in-law. Xiao Bai felt her vision go dark. She'd been watching the stream the whole time. Every word had sunk in, but she couldn't figure it out. Why had everything suddenly gone sideways like this? Just yesterday, everything was perfect. Maverick on a reality show. Fans thrilled to finally see him on screen. So how had it all gone so wrong? And Ella, she loved Maverick. That thought hit her like a punch. So, Ella didn't get hacked. She knew exactly what Maverick was like. She sent that message because she'd already seen through him. That message. That was Ella's truest, rawest feeling. At that moment, Xiao Bai felt a wave of disgust wash over her. Why had she been pining after someone like this all these years? And worse, she'd wasted her youth and her money on a guy like that. She couldn't hold it in any longer. She shot off a live chat message right then. Maverick, you really disgust me. That comment blew up instantly. Tons of likes poured in. Looks like this little girl finally woke up. Congrats. You're not in pain anymore, are you? It's okay. Your idol crashed and burned, but now you've got the juicy gossip. Come on, let's keep eating this drama together. Of course she was hurting. She genuinely loved that artist for 3 years, but in the end, she stayed level-headed. She knew when to cut her losses. Seeing a few kind replies among the chaos, she actually smiled, just for a second, and felt oddly relieved. Like that comment said, Maverick's house of cards came crashing down. But hey, now she's got the juiciest gossip to chew on. Who else could eat their own crumbled idol like a pro? And right then, the chat was absolutely wild. Ever since Ella dumped an entire cake on Maverick's face, things had exploded in the live stream. The moment it went live at 7 a.m., the heat spiked straight to the top of the charts. Hundreds of fans were stunned. Wait, Maverick's married? Maverick's actually married? Wait, is he even gay? This is the real deal. She's his wife, and he just dropped that on live stream. No way this isn't true. Then came that even wilder line, and suddenly, the chat was flooded with laughter. I can't take it anymore. Sister, you're seriously good at giving people what for. Help me. I never thought Maverick was this kind of guy. Good job, sister. Keep going. Oh God. Please stop. I'm actually grossed out right now. Let's change the subject, please. Fine, let's change it. Wait. Charles. Got you. What are you doing sneaking a thumbs up? I saw it too, but look at Maverick. His face is covered in cake, yet his expression is even more priceless. Everyone quickly turned to check Maverick's reaction. It had been long enough that the cream on Maverick's face was cracking in places, chunks falling onto the floor and revealing his natural skin tone. His entire neck was flushed red, and the exposed patch of skin burned bright. Shame washed over him like a wave, wishing he could vanish into a crack somewhere. Then came a soft chuckle from beside him. Charles snapped his head toward the sound and saw Henry. The other guests around them all had at least a hint of amusement on their faces. Charles couldn't hold it in anymore. Seeing Caleb's face, wide-eyed and horrified, cracked him up instantly. So Caleb's just realizing now that Maverick had feelings for him all along? Can't handle it. He even threw off his jacket. Gabriel and Edwin both turned to look. Sure enough, Caleb's morning jacket had disappeared. No idea when it was gone. Now he stood there, face twisted with disgust and embarrassment, clutching the fabric like it was cursed. He finally spotted a trash bin nearby and rushed over to toss the jacket inside. Charles was howling at the sight. Help! He actually threw his clothes away. What's wrong with him? He must really hate it. Edwin wiped a smile from his face as he turned back. Who wouldn't be bothered by that, considering how wild Maverick's been playing lately? The stream chat had caught on too, and was laughing even harder. Who do you think has it worse, Caleb or Maverick? He just got out of a breakup yesterday, and then he gets attention from some stranger. Wait, Maverick, you're seriously too much. LMAO. The group's chuckles weren't loud, but in the quiet studio they stood out like a bell. And Maverick was already on edge. Just one laugh set him off. Then came another, and another, one after the other. His eyes flashed red in an instant. He couldn't even imagine what the live chat must look like right now. Go on a trip was already a hot reality show, and after Caleb's incident last night, the production team had hit the trending charts. The buzz is probably still going strong right now, so the live stream audience must be massive. And then Ella just stepped in, slapping a whole cake across her face and spilling all sorts of dirt on herself. Maverick felt like the world went black. He almost collapsed right there. Ella jumped back a step, startled by his reaction. You're seriously this weak? Really? Maverick shot up, eyes blazing. How isn't it? Finally clicked. He wasn't here to confront him. She was coming to destroy him, to ruin his career. Then fine, let's all go down together. His career was already wrecked. She wasn't going to walk away unscathed either. I'm done with you, Maverick roared, lunging straight at Ella. Edwin's eyes flickered. Without thinking, he reached out to stop him. Then Charles spoke up. Come on, is Maverick really this delusional? The words had barely left his mouth when there was a sharp thud. Ella executed a smooth shoulder throw, sending Maverick sprawling onto the ground. Before Maverick could even process what happened, Ella straddled him, pinning his wrists down with one hand while raising the other high. A crisp slap echoed through the air. Maverick's head snapped to the side. Did you not hear me, Maverick? Or are you just too slow to understand? Ella's voice was icy with fury. Didn't I already tell you? 3 years ago or today? You're no match for me if you're still this weak? Got it? Maverick had never been humiliated like this in his life. He roared and twisted wildly. Get off me. You only got me because I wasn't ready. Give me another shot. Perfect, Charles muttered, shaking his head. Not only does he not get it, he's also shameless. Edwin nodded in full agreement. Who the hell loses and then starts whining? Who starts whining after losing? The chat was stunned silent. Sis, you're so fierce. I love it. Call her auntie, not sis. Yeah, Auntie Tong. I love you. Hit him. Beat him up. Watching my queen take down this jerk is so satisfying. The chat couldn't get enough. Some even started giving advice. Just don't hit him too hard, or he'll try to sue you. Relax, I'm pre-law. This is self-defense, no problem at all. The chat erupted into laughter. Ella, clearly level-headed, didn't take the bait at all. She simply kept a firm grip on Maverick's arms and legs, not making any other move. After about 10 seconds, Maverick gave up, exhausted. As soon as he stopped struggling, Ella spoke in a quiet, dry tone. Still not admitting it? Dead guy with kidney issues? I didn't. Maverick snapped, completely breaking down. You're the one with kidney problems. Your whole family's got them. Charles couldn't hold it in anymore. He clamped a hand over his mouth and burst out laughing. Ella's really good at hitting Maverick right where it hurts. That's pure psychological warfare. The live audience erupted into louder laughter. I feel like Maverick just got hit right in the chest. He just completely lost it right there. Oh my God. I actually liked Maverick before, but now I swear he looks like a total clown. Even the other guests couldn't help themselves anymore. It wasn't that they were trying to laugh. It was just their nature. They always ended up laughing, no matter what happened. Even Caleb, who'd been unusually tense a moment ago, couldn't keep from chuckling now. Ella's got real power. Maverick, an adult man, was no match for her at all. But Maverick wasn't giving up. After a quick rest, he started thrashing again. Let go of me, Ella. I'm not done with you. Thwack. Without warning, Ella pulled out a document from her bag and smacked it right on Maverick's head. I'm the one who's not done with you. We haven't finished our conversation. Don't think this is over. Since neither of you two want to talk, how about we shift gears? Let's chat about Andrew, the assistant you hired last month. I bet you've got plenty to say about him. Charles finally caught on and quickly glanced toward the production crew. I almost forgot. Thanks to Ella for reminding me. This Andrew guy is actually here on set. Yeah, him. That's right. Henry kept a close eye on Charles, and when he saw him glance over that way, he quickly followed suit. Sure enough, a slender-faced man was standing right in the middle of the crowd. Hearing Ella mention his name, he blinked hard. His eyes welled up instantly. Sister-in-law? When Maverick chased me before, he never said he was married. And he kept saying. Andrew couldn't go on. He covered his face and burst into tears. When Ella suddenly showed up at the set that morning, Andrew was caught off guard. But since Maverick had only said Ella was his sister, Andrew didn't question her presence. When he found out she'd flown in overnight, he took her straight to rest. She didn't sleep though. Instead, while the filming hadn't started yet, she pulled Andrew aside for a quiet talk. The conversation centered on Maverick and their relationship. First, Andrew felt awkward. but then figured she was just Maverick's sister. It made sense she'd want to know what was going on, so he opened up completely. He never expected Ella and Maverick were actually married. When he heard that, it felt like the ground had vanished beneath him. The blow hit so hard he couldn't even process what to do next. It wasn't until Ella mentioned something else Andrew realized he couldn't run anymore. In this mess, both he and Ella were victims. He had to stand with her no matter what, ignoring the curious stares all around him. Andrew wiped his tears and walked straight toward them. Maverick's face twitched again. "You, Ella, let me explain, this isn't what it looks like. Me and him, we're not actually." "What isn't?" Andrew was already in front of everyone before the words even left his lips. Facing the camera for the first time, he wasn't fazed at all. Instead, he stayed calm and shot back. "Are those flirtatious texts you sent me not real? Or the abs pics you sent? Let's be real, Maverick's body? Who even needs that kind of flex?" Charles genuinely blinked, caught off guard. He's really full of himself. His body should at least be. Charles paused, thinking it over. Something like Gabriel's or even my second brother's. Honestly, comparing them to Maverick was an insult, but Edwin frowned, puzzled. When the hell did Charles even see Gabriel's abs? Edwin's face turned dark, glaring hard at Gabriel. Gabriel blinked, confused. "Why are you staring at me like that, Andrew?" Ella hadn't expected Andrew to step in like this. She spoke up. "With all these cameras, maybe you should just back off for now." "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry," Andrew said, eyes red and sincere. "I messed up. It's my fault. But I still feel like I need to speak up right now. Not just to apologize to you, but to show everyone Maverick for who he really is." Ella felt touched. Maverick was losing it. "Andrew, I'm warning you. Don't say another word, or slap." Ella swung the rolled-up documents like a bat and smacked Maverick right on the head. "I'd suggest you shut up before I make you." Meanwhile, the live stream erupted. "All right, we don't need to see any proof now. The witness is here." Maverick's really good at this, bringing people right into the group like that. So Andrew had no idea at all when he got replaced? Andrew's actually a pretty handsome guy. "Maverick, you're awful." The chat was flooded with blame directed at Maverick. And that's when the on-site accusations against Maverick really kicked off. Andrew gave a quick rundown of how things started between him and Maverick. It was simple. Maverick made the first move. In fact, Maverick admitted outright that he'd agreed to hire Andrew as his assistant just because he thought he was good-looking. Then Andrew pulled up every single chat thread between him and Maverick from his phone. At this point, Maverick had no way to deny it anymore. "Anything else you want to say?" Ella tapped Maverick on the head. Maverick turned his face away, shutting his eyes like he was playing dead. Ella laughed at the way he was acting. "So you don't mind if I go ahead and release everything I've got?" Maverick shot upright. "Ella, you dare. Stay put." Ella shoved him back down hard. "What's stopping me? Here's your choice. Keep denying it, and I'll keep dropping the evidence. Or sign this contract. I'm walking away clean." She pulled out a divorce agreement from her bag. Maverick, still struggling, froze. What contract?" "Divorce papers," Ella said. "You get 20%. I take 80. Maverick erupted. "Ella, don't push me too far. You think that's all my money? Yeah, you've been working hard, shaking your hips every day. That's why I still left you a little something." Charles was laughing so hard he doubled over. "I can't take it anymore. Why does my brain have to go full cinema on me? I'm just a guy reading novels. I don't need all these images. He hasn't even read a novel yet. Can you please stop screaming? You're gonna make his brain start hallucinating again." Gabriel shook his head hard, already considering just letting the other guests go ahead and have breakfast. Ella had this whole thing completely under control. Maverick was hers to handle. No need for anyone else to worry. Sharing breakfast and gossip. That's the perfect combo. Ella went on. "Besides, you were the one who cheated first. 2-8 is actually pretty fair. Or are you saying 2-8 isn't enough? You want to split it 1-9 instead?" Maverick's eyes were blazing with fury, but right now, he was completely powerless. Ella had all the proof. She'd already taken full control of the situation. Even if he refused, she could still go through legal channels. But Maverick wasn't ready to give in. He'd finally broken through with a solid script, finally built some real momentum in the industry. If he admitted it now, no, actually, even if he didn't admit it, the audience already knew. His fans had already found out. The moment Ella revealed they were married, everything was over. Maverick felt like his heart had stopped. He stared blankly at the divorce papers in Ella's hand. hand, silent for a long time. "Sign it," Ella asked again. Tears welled up in Maverick's eyes, mixing with the cream on his face in a way that looked utterly ridiculous. He kept nodding frantically. "Yes, I'll sign." There was no point in denying it anymore. Maverick had nowhere left to hide. Maverick agreed to sign, and Ella didn't hold him back. She stood up in one motion and gave his head a light tap with the file. "Let's go." Maverick was numb, lying flat on the grass like a lifeless doll. It wasn't until Ella kicked his shoulder impatiently that he finally dragged himself up with obvious reluctance. The cake on his face had dried in the morning sun, clinging to his features like sticky residue. Crumbs kept falling off as he walked. Absolutely ridiculous. The guests watched them walk out of frame before Ella handed the pen back to Maverick. "Sign it." Holding the divorce papers, Maverick's hands trembled. He took a breath and said, "Ella, could you maybe, after I sign, go explain to my online fans? Just say we were joking. Just messing with them?" Charles burst out laughing. "You really think we're idiots? Or the audience is?" Henry added quietly, "Or maybe you're the one who's delusional." The others couldn't hold back their laughter. They didn't try to keep it down. Their laughs rang out freely. Maverick clearly heard every word. His face turned sharp with shock, and he started to turn around. Just as Ella yanked his collar hard, her eyes blazing. "Maverick, I'm warning you. My patience is gone. Sign the damn thing now." His expression darkened instantly. His voice cracked. "Ella, you really can't. Sign." The only reply was Ella's icy command. Charles hadn't expected Maverick to actually cry. He was about to turn around and check his expression when a hand shot out, slapping over his eyes. "Come on. Time to grab breakfast. Enough spectacle for one morning." What if Maverick snapped after this? Who knows what he might do next? "Bro, let me walk on my own," Charles said, trying to peel Edwin's hand off his shoulder. Edwin didn't budge. He just yanked Charles's shoulder and dragged him toward breakfast. Gabriel waved to the others. "Come on, if we don't head out now, the food'll be cold." But what was colder than breakfast? Maverick. Online, every platform was flooded with trending hashtags about Maverick's downfall. Clips from the live stream were being shared nonstop by content creators across the board. Maverick's fans started dropping him in droves. Even his dedicated fangirls deleted their profile pictures and vanished overnight. Some even dug up the truth. Ella, Maverick's biggest fan account, was actually her own personal handle all along. A woman who'd stood by him for years, and he still betrayed her. He wasn't worth holding on to anymore. The live stream, which had started with 9 guests, now only had 8 left. The breakfast spot was nestled on a small hillside. Wide open views, and far off in the distance, herds of cattle and sheep grazed peacefully. Charles took a sip of goat milk, then glanced back at Ella and Maverick. But neither was in the crowd anymore. Andrew had disappeared too. Ella just took him straight to divorce court. So bold, so fast, so perfect. Charles silently gave her credit. He turned his head slowly and found Caleb sitting across from him. The breakfast was all local favorites. Lamb bubble bread, goat milk, hand-pulled beef noodles. Guests ordered on the spot, and chefs cooked fresh. You could eat as much as you wanted. Charles had stuffed himself with roast lamb last night, so he wasn't hungry at all. He just asked for a bowl of goat milk and beef noodles. If he remembered right, Caleb was the one who'd gone to grab the noodles with him. Now, half of Charles's bowl was still untouched, but Caleb had already polished off 3 empty ones. Charles blinked in surprise, and then couldn't help but chuckle. Caleb's appetite has come back. Looks like he's finally moved on from the breakup. He was practically dead on his feet this morning, and now he's chowing down like nothing happened. Life really does revolve around the latest drama, doesn't it? When Charles spoke, Edwin and Gabriel both looked up at Caleb at the same time. Edwin burst out laughing right away. The others glanced over, confused. Edwin raised an eyebrow, studying Caleb across the table. "You were really hungry this morning. Did you not eat enough last night?" Charles couldn't hold it in. He snorted and nearly dropped his milk cup. "No way, second brother. Aren't you holding on to this a bit too hard?" Asher couldn't help it either. He cracked up. Henry, who'd been quietly munching on gossip all morning, finally remembered his role and stepped in. He was upset last night, so of course he couldn't eat much. Now that he's feeling better, it makes sense he's hungry again. The others erupted into laughter at that. Even Harper, usually so careful, ended up shaking on Owen's shoulder from laughing. Isabella wasn't even trying to hide her amusement. She kept glancing at Caleb the whole time. Caleb tightened his grip on his chopsticks and shot Edwin a glare. He opened his mouth to argue, but then shut it again, realizing he had no real grounds. After all, if Edwin hadn't laid everything out last night, Caleb might still be fooled by Mason. It wasn't easy to accept at first, but at least he'd seen through one person and cut his losses in time. So really, he couldn't bring himself to bite back at Edwin, especially since he'd been the one to mess with his little brother yesterday. He was just plain out of excuses. As for Henry, Caleb didn't hold back, his voice tight with barely contained frustration. Henry really knows me. Funny, after 2 collaborations, I still don't know you at all. Henry blinked innocently. I'm not sure what you mean, Caleb. Caleb let out a cold laugh. Ha! Who even started this? Owen, Harper, and Isabella were all caught off guard. Not just them, viewers in the live stream were equally confused. What's Caleb even trying to say by that? I thought Henry and Caleb got along fine during their first collab. What changed? No way, no way. Just finished chewing on Maverick's drama. Now you're tossing another juicy one at me, but their hopes were dashed. After a few sharp exchanges, Caleb and Henry fell quiet, then resumed eating breakfast in perfect, unspoken sync. Charles caught on instantly. So all this time, Caleb finally realized Henry's a white-collar wolf. Gabriel looked away. The question was how much Caleb had figured out. But judging by Henry's lack of effort to hide, it wouldn't be long before the truth came out. Gabriel finally believed Charles's earlier hunch. Henry's fake account leak might have been his own doing. After 2 episodes together, Gabriel had a pretty good grasp of Henry's real self. Last time, he'd still played the game in front of the camera. But this round, he dropped the act altogether, just laid it all out there. No wonder Caleb had said he felt like they were meeting for the first time. Henry's been in the spotlight for over a year now, performing non-stop in front of cameras. No wonder he's probably sick to death of it by this point. Now we'll just have to wait and see when Henry decides to finally drop the act. Gabriel was just thinking that when he caught Charles pulling out his phone and opening Weibo. Halfway through breakfast, Charles suddenly remembered he hadn't checked the latest post from Henry's alt account today. As soon as he tapped into Gosher's profile, one tweet, posted just 10 minutes ago, jumped right into view. Gosher. Now that the river troll's gone, the air feels so much fresher. On the surface, it seemed like a totally harmless post, no red flags. But what in the world was Henry's photo choice? Charles barely glanced at the thumbnail before sucking in a sharp breath. Then he clicked to enlarge it and yelped out loud. Henry, you're not actually going through with this, are you? Who taught you to just slap in the exact photo from breakfast? That angle. Same perspective we were using during livestream. Anyone who knows our seating layout will spot it instantly. Gosher is your alt account. Are you seriously done hiding that fake identity? Gabriel's eyelid twitched at the words. He snapped his gaze away and pulled out his phone, scrolling to Henry's Weibo alt account. One look was all it took. Then he inhaled sharply too. Henry hadn't just posted the breakfast photo. He'd also taken a shot of Maverick and Caleb's tent late last night, captioning it with, Gosher. I mean, isn't it summer already? Why are there still animals getting randy in the middle of the night? For a second, Gabriel didn't even dare peek at Gosher's comment section. After taking several deep breaths, he finally tapped the comments, only 3 total. But once he checked the usernames, relief washed over him instantly. Phew, thank goodness. Just Henry talking to himself. Gosher. I just wanted to warm your hands. Gosher. Do you really believe that crap about yourself? I could say I just turned 18 too. Gosher. Staying up all night in the tent, spouting nonsense like a ghost with a grudge. Can we get rid of you tomorrow already? Gabriel couldn't help but smirk at the last one. Fine then. Turns out Henry got exactly what he wanted. Maverick was packing his bags today. Charles, clearly having seen the same thread, was quietly chuckling to himself, still holding his phone. Classic Gosher. Still packing a punch. After laughing, Charles scrolled down to check Henry's other tweets. The more he read, the calmer he got. Sure, Henry's posts are pretty obvious. Anyone with half a brain could trace his alt accounts. But luckily, Henry's little account isn't getting any traction. Barely even has a handful of fake followers. Just my dummy profile. Wait, someone else actually followed him. These accounts don't even have profile pictures. look more like bots than real people. If he changed the profile picture, wouldn't that risk blowing their cover? They're way too careful for that. But as long as Henry's little account stayed under the radar, Gabriel finally breathed easy. After breakfast, the guests were off to their next destination, since this leg of the trip was heading into the grasslands, where none of them really knew what they were getting into. The production team had hired a local guide for the episode. For 2 full days, the group followed their guide and hit nearly every major spot across the grasslands. They watched sunrises. They watched sunsets. They also saw snow-capped mountains feeding crystal-clear streams that wound their way deep into the heart of the continent. Countless herds of cattle and sheep, blooming flowers, and fluttering butterflies, all free to roam across the endless expanse of grassland. By the final day of filming, the last golden streaks of sunset had vanished, darkness settling over everything as they returned once again to their first night campsite. The production team hadn't prepared dinner this evening. Guests were on their own. Owen stepped up to the stove again, scanning the wide array of fresh ingredients. He suggested, "How about we go all out and make a hot pot tonight?" The idea was met with instant approval from most of the group. Half an hour later, everything was ready. As guests settled around the bubbling pot, director and producer walked over. Asher eyed them both. "So you're joining us for dinner?" They'd planned to crash the meal, but that wording was kind of harsh. "Here's the thing. Tonight marks the release of our first episode's edit across all major platforms. We've set up a big screen so everyone can watch it while enjoying dinner, and we'll also be doing a little game." "What kind of game?" Caleb asked. At the mention of a game, all the first episode cast members instinctively turned to look at Owen. Owen's face went stiff for a second. Henry, ever the opportunist, grinned and asked, "You're not planning to repeat that same game from last time, are you?" His words sent everyone into laughter. After how badly the first game turned out, who'd have thought they'd dare try it again? The live stream chat exploded with excitement. "I won't even feel tired if it's the same game again, but if they're doing truth or dare again this round, everyone's gonna end up focusing on that one couple, don't you think?" "Don't even say it. I'm already getting nervous just thinking about it. I'll admit, I never believed in Owen and Harper at first, but after this episode, I'm fully obsessed." "Tell me about it." "I'll admit, I was a bit harsh back then. Owen and Harper, they're real. So what's the game even supposed to be?" Owen was actually sweating through his forehead. Harper squeezed his hand and whispered, "Don't stress out." Owen wiped the sweat off his brow. "Yeah, I'm not nervous. Just worried the crew might pull some surprise on us." "Like what?" Owen grimaced. "Like dragging Luca in here. Maybe you should just keep your mouth shut. What if the producers actually listen to you?" Harper was already tensing up just hearing it. Their conversation wasn't quiet, and the other guests burst out laughing instantly. "Come on, I'm actually kinda excited. What about you?" Henry grinned at Charles. Charles took a deep breath and gave a firm hum. Who doesn't love a good clash? And this one's even better. Father and son drama. Edwin nearly lost it, then turned sharply to Gabriel. "Did you invite him?" Now the pressure's on him. The rest of the crew immediately zeroed in with gossip-filled stares. Gabriel shot the director an exasperated look. "Cut the crap already." The director grinned, then cleared his throat. "This little game isn't tough at all. Nothing as, well, dramatic as you might be thinking." Charles's mood plummeted the instant he heard that. "Huh." Owen gritted his teeth. "Charles, you're actually disappointed." Charles waved his hands quickly. No, Owen, you've got it wrong. I didn't want any of that drama at all. I didn't mean it that way at all. Why did I just say what was really on my mind?" The others couldn't hold back. They all burst out laughing. The chat exploded with laughter. I was kind of bummed too, but seeing Charles be even more let down. Honestly, now I'm just happy. As long as the king of gossip eats his gossip after me, I'm good. Don't know why, but I just can't help it. Charles immediately turned to Harper, his voice tinged with hurt. "Sis, you gotta stop Owen from messing with me." After 2 days together, it had started with only Edwin and Charles calling her sis. Then everyone else caught on, now they all did. Harper was used to it by now. She shot Owen a quick glance. "Don't scare Charles." Owen's face fell instantly. "What? I didn't. Besides, his brother's right here. How could I?" Edwin raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The director quickly jumped in before the conversation could veer off track. All right. let's get back to our little game for today, the Weibo Share Challenge. Simple, right after this, the show's official account will post a promotional tweet about our broadcast. All you have to do is retweet it. The first guest to do so gets a special perk. Now I'm relieved, had me worried for a second. Thought it was something big. So, what's the perk? Asher asked. The director winked. The power to choose next week's guest star. Charles. Cough, cough. He turned to Gabriel, disbelief written all over his face. Could it be that Gabriel finally realized how cursed his luck really is? And decided to just leave everything to fate. Tell me about it. No matter what he picks, he always seems to zero in on stars who are either already crashing or headed for a fall. Might as well let the guests decide this time around. Can't all of us be that unlucky? Can we? Charles couldn't hold it in. He quickly ducked his head to hide a laugh. Then Henry suddenly said, so if I'm the one who shares first, that means I can invite Luca. Owen's eyes widened. Henry, I misjudged you. That's your real self all along. Asher jumped in right away. You're just now figuring that out. He hadn't even finished speaking when Henry shot him a look sharp enough to cut glass. Asher, cough, cough. Owen blinked. Huh. Why'd you stop mid-sentence? Charles's lips twitched, unable to keep from grinning. Asher wasn't about to finish that thought. Guess being around Henry long enough really shows you who he is. No wonder he stopped hiding his alter ego. Edwin and Gabriel pretended they hadn't caught a word. Caleb had understood, but he wasn't about to join the chaos. After these past few days, he'd come to realize just how deeply sneaky Henry really was. He didn't want to tick off anyone, especially not Henry. Isabella, on the other hand, was completely lost. The tension was about to freeze over again, and the director stepped in with a cough. All right, as Henry said, any guest list you pitch, we'll do our best to bring them on board. But whether they show up, that's entirely up to them. You can't exactly force someone to join. After all, Owen's shoulders dropped instantly. Harper couldn't bear to see him like that, so she reached out with a soft smile. It's okay, really. When I signed up for this episode, the crew invited Luca too. He turned it down. Owen's eyes widened in shock. Wait, seriously? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Didn't want to worry you, Harper said gently. So don't stress now. Owen exhaled slowly, then straightened up, fire in his eyes. All right, then I'm gonna win this thing. Better to hold your fate in your own hands than leave it to someone else. Charles couldn't help himself anymore. But have you even thought, Owen, what happened last episode is done. What if Luca finds our second episode interesting enough to want to join in the third? And even if they only bring one guest, what if, just like last time, they send 2 surprise guests this round? Edwin caught on fast. He pulled out his phone and edged closer to the satellite signal feed. You don't watch drama from afar. Watch it live. So he'd better give it his all, just in case he ends up first. And who was he going to hit up first? Luca, obviously. The other guests all pulled out their phones too, fumbling for signal, determined to be the first to share when the official post dropped online. Charles logged into Weibo, double-checking carefully that he was on his main account and not some random alternate profile. With everyone ready, the director nodded to the operations team. All right, send it. Charles had already opened the show's official Weibo page. As soon as he heard the signal, he refreshed instantly and saw the post pop up. He tapped share without a second thought, then scrambled to type in his promo line. Come check out episode 1. It's absolutely amazing. Confirmed. Sent. Relief washed over Charles as the success message popped up. Right away, he scrolled down to check his ranking on the share list. Scrolling further, he saw himself in 3rd place. Second was Gabriel's profile pic, and first was someone else. Looks like it's neither me nor Gabriel. The first one doesn't look anything like the second brother. But that face rings a bell. Charles lifted his head and glanced at the other guests. Who's in first? Just then, a loud voice cut through the crew pile. Wait. Back end says first is Gosher? Who even is Gosher? The words barely landed before Charles, Edwin, and Gabriel all stared in shock. Charles screamed silently inside his head. Henry, you're using an alt account to retweet the promo post? Are you trying to get yourself killed? For a split second, the set fell silent. The guests glanced at one another, bewildered. Isabella spoke up first. Gosher, shouldn't all our Weibo accounts be under our real names? The director nodded. Who even uses a fake name on Weibo? Not in our industry, at least. Still, why did that name ring a bell? Could it be some random online troll? Harper suggested. After all, the live stream was still running. Maybe someone had just joined in for fun. No way that's possible. Charles let out a silent sigh. He'd just recognized it, the profile picture from Henry's alt account. That yellow bean with the middle finger up. Instantly unforgettable. Owen, Caleb, Isabella, and the others all nodded in agreement with Harper's guess. Asher even laughed out loud. Who came up with a name that's this ridiculous? The rest of the guests burst into laughter too. Even the viewers in the live stream were laughing hard. Actually, that name is kind of unique. It reminds me of Henry's dog. Didn't that pup have the same name? That's right. Henry said the name had real depth, so he named his dog Gosher. Everyone in the room and everyone watching online was laughing. Only Charles, Gabriel, and Edwin weren't. Charles's toes involuntarily curled up again, as if he were digging a hole with them. Asher, maybe you should just shut your mouth for once. Don't you worry about Henry burying you in a ditch later? Charles silently pitted Asher in his head. Gabriel and Edwin, though, weren't as tense as Charles was. Gabriel just felt a headache coming on. The recording was practically over. How had things suddenly gone sideways again? Still, he'd already prepared for damage control, so it wasn't too bad. But why Henry, of all people? Why now? Why use a fake account exactly at this moment? Edwin was just as curious. After spending the whole episode together, he'd realized Henry wasn't actually that hard to get along with. If you didn't cross his invisible line, he'd keep smiling and stay civil. But playing a role long enough has to wear you down. So even without Charles reminding him, Edwin could still catch glimpses of the fleeting real emotion flickering across Henry's face. Could it be that Henry was just tired of pretending? So he decided to start being himself from now on? Gabriel and Edwin both looked up at Henry at the same time. The moment they did, both froze. The sun had long vanished below the horizon, and lights had flickered on at the shoot site. Henry sat directly across from Charles. The evening grassland was chilly, so he wore a jacket. A steaming cup of water rested beside his left hand. A breeze swept in, lifting the steam and swirling it across his face. As it cleared, Henry's brows softened slightly, his expression unusually serious as he stared down at his phone. Gabriel couldn't believe what he was seeing. Looking at Henry's face, could it really be that he accidentally reposted the Weibo post from his alt account? Edwin was just as stunned. No way. In this industry, every star keeps their secondary account locked down tight. No exceptions. Even Edwin double-checked before posting. Henry was smart and cautious. He'd never make a mistake like that on purpose, would he? Charles finally managed to calm himself down, making sure his expression gave nothing away, then quickly glanced at Henry from the corner of his eye. The instant he did, his eyelid twitched, still smirking. Henry. Oh ho ho. Got you now. You weren't careless at all. You were trying to be careless. Gabriel and Edwin heard Charles's thought, then both looked back at Henry again. Sure enough, they both caught a flash of something, almost imperceptible, curling at the edge of Henry's eyes. Thought so. Henry would never mess up that badly. He did it on purpose. So that serious look on his face earlier. Edwin glanced at the camera ahead. Was just for show, wasn't it? Gabriel and Edwin both sighed inwardly at the same time. Phew. Nearly fell for Henry's trick. Then, just as the live stream finally caught on. Wait, hold on. Don't laugh yet. Look at Charles's face. Usually he's the first to crack up, right? Why isn't he laughing tonight? Huh? Charles not laughing? Did he just think Asher wasn't funny? I don't think so. Look, not only is he not smiling, neither are Gabriel or Edwin. None of the three are laughing. Could this little account be tied to all three of them? That set off a wildfire in the chat. Wait, actually, that might be possible. Look at Charles's face, tight as a drum. I've been watching this stream for ages, and I've never seen him look like that before. I can't help but wonder, has that tweet even been deleted? Let me check the retweet history. But wait, I don't think so. If this alt really was theirs, why did I just see all three of them in the retweet list? Just then, a crew member finally brought over a tablet. Director, take a look. This account seems like a troll. The latest post is still a roast. The director glanced at the retweet list on the screen but didn't bother reading closely. Looks like some random fan wandered in. Let's drop this one. Then the top spot goes to Cheen. Wait, the director paused. What's up? Charles turned just in time to catch the flicker of a smile at Henry's lips, and his stomach dropped. Seriously, Gosher, you're really gonna go full wolf reveal? Then Henry spoke up. Director, you never actually said we had to use our main Weibo accounts for the retweets, did you? At that exact moment, a comment popped up on the live stream, standing out like a neon sign. Gosher's Weibo account isn't Charles Gabriel and Edwin's little side account. The chat exploded into a sea of exclamation points. The guests who still didn't know what was going on were left completely confused. What was Henry even getting at? Asher instinctively glanced at Henry. Nothing unusual on his face. But then his eyes flicked to Charles. His pupils snapped wide open. Wait, no way. The director was thrown off by Henry's question, but after a pause, he answered, well, no, we didn't have that rule. And then, without missing a beat, Henry sighed with fake resignation. Guess I'm stuck. My bad. I must have accidentally switched accounts. A comment flashed across the stream. Gosher is Henry's dog. This account posted a photo of that exact same dog just last month. Henry said, Gosher is my side account. Another comment. So that means this account belongs to Henry. The words had barely landed. Silence fell over the room. Charles shot a look straight at Gabriel. Gabriel shut his eyes for a beat. Charles couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. Some people look like they're asleep, but they're actually dead to the world. Edwin pressed his fist against his lips, trying not to laugh out loud. Asher's brain short-circuited for a second. Only after several beats did he finally speak. Wait, you're saying, that's right, Henry said, glancing at Asher with a cool look that didn't hide the edge in his eyes. Then he smirked. You just called me a legend for my username. Asher, I told you to shut up. You asterisk no asterisk, I was being sarcastic. You didn't miss that, did you? So now you're doing it back to me? Asher took a deep breath, suddenly buzzing with excitement. He leaned in, eyes gleaming like he was about to witness something juicy. So, did you post any tweets roasting people from our scene? Of course, Henry said without hesitation, catching everyone else's gaze and flashing a practiced smile. Relax, I'm all about fairness. Everyone gets their share. Thanks, I needed that. Charles was losing it completely. Alright, confirmed. Gosher's really going to be himself. Henry didn't even wait for the others' reactions before turning straight to the director. So can we announce I'm first now? The director felt sweat prickling on his forehead. It hit him all at once. Where he'd heard the name Gosher before, Gabriel had mentioned it during that meeting earlier, hadn't he? What exactly did Gabriel say back then? He'd said the little Weibo account was probably Henry's side profile, and they couldn't be sure when fans might expose it. So he told both Henry and the producer to keep an eye out. And later on, Gabriel even held a separate briefing for the PR team, probably about how to handle a sudden leak of that side account. So why didn't he remember this right away? What the hell do I do now? For a split second, the director seriously considered screaming for help. But he forced himself to stay composed, keeping his face dead serious. We didn't say guests couldn't use side accounts to retweet, so I'm announcing Henry as the winner of this Weibo retweet challenge. The moment the words left his mouth, Henry glanced around the room and blinked. Aren't you guys going to congratulate me? How dare they? Didn't you see everyone's already digging into your side account? Look at Owen. His forehead's covered in sweat. My older brother and Gabriel are actually pretty calm about it. Charles let out a slow sigh and was the first to clap. Well done. Congratulations. With Charles leading the way, the others finally put down their phones, no longer rushing to read up on how Henry had insulted them, and joined in with applause. Most of the guests still didn't quite get what Henry was pulling, but they all picked up on something in his smile, a shift from before, like, all that time. Henry's grin felt forced, but now, that one actually looks real. He was done pretending all along. Edwin nodded in agreement. When the clapping died down, Henry turned to the director with a smile. I'll send you the list of people I want invited later. For now, how about we just dig into this hot pot? He said it with a quiet laugh. Honestly, if I don't eat now, I won't have time once my agent calls. Charles, sitting right beside him, heard every word and couldn't help laughing again. Seriously, who else to blame? You just dropped the bomb in front of a live audience. Couldn't you have been a little more subtle? Then suddenly, Henry leaned in. Charles, what are you laughing at? Charles cleared his throat. Nothing. You're laughing because I'm gonna get yelled at later, right? After shedding the act, Henry's tone was sharper than ever. You know it, so why ask? If he wasn't worried about Charles, Charles sure as hell wasn't going to worry about him. Henry burst out laughing. Laughed hard, like he'd finally let go. Charles saw it, the real kind of laugh. He changed the subject. Let's eat. We're gonna burn the pot if we don't start. Edwin jumped in, quick to smooth things over. Yes, let's eat. Gabriel added, we can start with the beef. Then Caleb suddenly spoke up. Wait, Henry, all those things you told me last time we worked together? You were just lying. Charles perked up. Henry dropped a few beef slices into the pot and arched an eyebrow. Yeah, with that smug look. Like, yeah, I did it. His face fell. You couldn't just... you can't just... Charles couldn't help but wonder. So what exactly did Henry say about Caleb earlier? Charles was still hesitating whether to check Henry's side account right in front of him. Then Caleb spoke, his voice dripping with wounded pride. I'll admit I'm a bit of a romantic. Really, I am. But you don't have to put it quite like that. And if zombie virus really did break out, I'd be the first one eaten too. Why would zombies even care whether I'm love-struck? Seriously, he couldn't hold it in. Laughed so hard he covered his face. Gabriel's expression softened, a hint of amusement tugging at the corner of his mouth as he turned slightly away. Asher burst out laughing. To be fair, that one actually hit pretty close to home. The other guests were all smiling, though subtly except Edwin, who suddenly felt a little offended. He'd been called out. But then Caleb's comment clicked for Owen. Wait. Does that mean I'm in trouble too? Henry raised an eyebrow. Owen, just go check my Weibo yourself. Owen couldn't resist. Asher was right there with him, itching to look. Isabella had already pulled out her phone. Charles paused for half a second. Was he supposed to pretend not to be checking too? Just as he reached for his phone, ready to open Henry's side account, a quiet voice came from beside him. You don't have to go through all that. Charles' stomach dropped. You can't be serious. How the hell did Henry even know I knew about his little account? Charles nearly lost it. Then Henry added, I've made fun of everyone. Maybe even your brother Edwin. But I've never once said a word about you. Henry gave Charles a little wink. Even though he knew Henry was telling the truth, what on earth could he even say? Unbelievable, Charles said, taking a slow breath. Henry just laughed. Seriously, I'm pretty straight up honest. Yeah, Charles nodded. Going on record with your alt account? That's hard to beat for sincerity. Henry chuckled and shook his head, not bothering to explain. He reached into the pot and started scooping out the beef. The other guests were all frozen in the same pose. Fork in one hand, phone in the other, scrolling through Weibo. Only Henry was eating like it was his last meal, pausing now and then to reply to random comments from the group. Asher shot up from his seat. Wait. Why am I suddenly the angry guy? Henry didn't even lift an eyelid. What would you call it if not rage? Asher was stunned into silence for a few seconds, then scowled and finally sank back into his seat. Isabella whispered, I don't think I'm that much of a princess, do I? Henry tilted his head. Well, just to list a few: nervous about sleeping in a tent, germaphobe, won't eat wild greens, thinks the herder's bowls are filthy, can't carry anything heavy and insists someone help you walk. Should I keep going? Isabella winced and waved her hands. No more. Owen raised his hand. He took a deep breath. Didn't see it coming, Henry. You're actually kind of decent. Henry grinned. So, is that your way of saying thanks for reminding you to lock the door? Charles burst out laughing again, his second big laugh of the night. Owen's expression was a mess. Confusion, surprise, and something else all mixed together. Then Henry added, So, am I being kind or what? Of course I'm being kind. That's exactly what I'm doing. Charles was doubled over with laughter. The mood on set lightened completely in that moment. Even though most guests had been roasted at some point, Henry's take was hard to argue with. After 2 episodes of getting skewered and then being spared the worst, everyone had started to get a feel for Henry. He wasn't just occasionally sharp-tongued. He was downright blunt, but never insincere. In an industry full of people who smile in your face and stab you behind the back, everyone actually kind of liked dealing with someone straightforward like him. The set quickly warmed up even more. When they came across something funny on Twitter, guests started sharing it with each other. But that harmony only lasted in the studio. Meanwhile, the live streams, Weibo, and every other platform were going wild. Fans of Henry, rival fans, and random random internet lurkers were all at each other's throats. When Henry spilled the beans about his alt account, even the casual onlookers and his own fans were stunned. I mean, if this was any other celebrity, wouldn't their first move be to quietly delete the post and pretend it never happened? So why'd you jump in front of everyone like that? If you hadn't come forward yourself, no one would have even noticed. Wait, were you doing it on purpose? Sure, there have been other celebrities who've revealed their alt accounts, but those were carefully managed, designed to build a persona and attract followers on purpose. Now look at Henry's alt account. First tweet, ripping into Maverick for being a water sprite. Second one, mocking him for being all over the place emotionally. And then he's in the comment section doing memes, warmth, 18 years old, you name it. By the time fans saw this, they were completely blindsided. Wait, why does Henry's side account have such a vibe? Where's the sweet, kind, big brother type Henry we all loved? Why does Henry know every meme and say anything he wants behind closed doors? Fans felt like they needed an emergency dose of heart medication. The netizens who'd made it this far couldn't help but laugh out loud. Told you so. I always knew Henry wasn't as chill and sweet as he seemed. I'm genuinely split. I can't believe this is coming from Henry, but honestly, he's not wrong at all. Exactly. Sure, he's ruthless and crude, but only when it's deserved. I'm gonna die laughing. Henry, did you guys see the first episode of his roast? Good lord, that mouth of his, saw it. He's so bold with the shade. Henry, how do you even do that sarcastic stuff? Seriously, can I borrow your tongue for a bit? Of course, that's just the reaction from casual onlookers. But once the news spread, it was all the fans of people Henry had worked with before who showed up. After searching carefully and finding Henry's old roast posts, their anger skyrocketed. Wait, Henry, are you okay? Who said someone looked like a melon? Good grief, did Henry even think his throwaway tweet might get dug up? He's not exactly a looker himself. How dare he slag off someone else's height? Who the hell is calling my baby mouthy? You're the one with the worst mouth I've ever seen. As more and more trolls piled in, someone finally snapped back. Could it be? Henry's not entirely wrong. That head of yours really does look like a winter melon. Yeah, sure, Henry ain't exactly handsome, but he is 188 centimeters tall. A little height jab doesn't hurt anyone. Mouthy. That time was when he leaked the intimate scene with his co-star, right? Could it have been literally a mouthy situation on set? Henry's fans hadn't even had time to rally and defend him before a wave of random internet spectators jumped in. After seeing the back and forth unfold, Henry's fans were torn, half annoyed, half amused. Still, they hit like. Meanwhile, fans from other corners of the fandom went full meltdown. You're defending someone who insults their co-star behind their back. Seriously, your loyalty is baffling. I just don't get it. Has everyone's moral compass gone haywire lately? Do you actually think Henry was right to do that? Henry's a total dirtbag. Ban him already. The internet crowd cracked up even harder. Why don't you go check out our profile? Wonder if we're really Henry fans or not. Oops. Did I let the secret slip? Turns out, I don't even follow stars. I'm not saying Henry was in the right, but I do think he's refreshingly real. I've been roasting my own boss behind closed doors too. Come on, isn't it okay to vent once in a while? We're all under pressure these days. And let's be honest, Henry wasn't twisting facts. He was just calling it like he saw it. Chill out, fans. He hasn't even panicked yet. No, it's not that they're not worried. It's just, they have no idea what to do. On one hand, they genuinely loved the image Henry had built, believing no one in the entire entertainment industry was warmer than him. But now you're telling them all of it was fake, just a carefully crafted persona. How could they not be crushed? On the other hand, even though fans were disappointed, they couldn't help but check Henry's little Weibo account. And once they did, they ended up laughing out loud. How had they missed how sharp and funny he really was all along? Suddenly, they were both furious and amused. Just at this crucial moment, Henry's phone started ringing in the livestream room. Charles glanced at the screen and saw Agent Lady flashing across it. Good luck. I'm sending you my condolences. The other guests all turned to look. Henry calmly set down his chopsticks and grinned. Perfect timing. I'm full too. You guys keep going. I'll go face the music. With that, Henry grabbed his phone and walked out of camera range. From a distance, they couldn't hear a word he was saying. Edwin and Gabriel both turned their eyes toward Charles. Charles, you've got to know something. Gabriel remembered clearly. Charles had only said Henry would crash, but never what happened after. So are you really not going to remember anything now? And Charles actually was remembering. He even pulled out his phone, quietly opened the Notes app, and scanned through his saved files like lightning, searching for what happened after Henry's fall from grace. But no matter how hard he looked, nothing key showed up. Charles muttered under his breath. Could it be that the crash didn't actually hit Henry that hard? I'd remember if it had actually messed things up that badly. I can't have missed something this big. At that thought, Charles just closed the memo app and opened Weibo, figuring he might as well check out the comment vibe. Before he even clicked on the trending topic, Henry's persona crash, a new one hit the top of the list. Henry's apology statement. Wait, Henry apologized. No way. Is this even the same Henry the first? No? Charles tapped it open immediately. Edwin and Gabriel reached for their phones at the same time. Before they could even open Weibo, Charles burst into laughter. I knew it. How could Gosher ever apologize? He never apologizes. Gabriel and Edwin looked down at their screens, and there it was. The apology post Henry just dropped. It wasn't even from Henry's main account. This one was his little-known alias. Gosher, short and sharp, but enough to send the haters reeling. Gosher, apology statement. I admit I was careless with my words earlier. To everyone I may have offended in past collaborations, I sincerely apologize. Since so many of you feel it's unethical to speak ill of people behind their backs, I'll make sure to do it face to face from now on. Wait, what? Oh wow, say it to their face. Nice. Only Gosher would own up like that. From the moment they started eating hot pot, none of the guests had really put their phones down. At that moment, Charles and the others noticed they were all staring at their phones, grinning. Instantly picking up on something, they quickly tapped into Gosher's Weibo account. After seeing Henry's apology post, Asher was the first to laugh. Is this even a proper apology? The same disbelief echoed through the comments section from fans across the board. Fan, you call this an apology? Gosher shot back instantly. Just tell me. Did I say sorry? Fan, this isn't an apology at all. No sincerity here. Gosher, alright, I'm apologizing again. Sorry. Sincere version. Now do you feel my remorse? Fans from every side were left speechless and furious. Henry, are you seriously playing games with us? Meanwhile, the casual onlookers were howling with laughter. They started tagging friends in replies, even begging them to roast Henry harder. Really wanted to learn his art of trolling, completely ignoring how it was wrecking other fans' moods. Charles couldn't stop grinning the whole time. Caleb, on the other hand, looked genuinely uneasy. He finally blurted out, Henry, didn't he just get a call from his agent? Is he really about to go full rebel like this? Owen was worried, not because he feared Henry getting scolded by his agent, but more that the backlash might attract even more trolls. Henry hadn't been in the game long, and if he ended up stuck with this constant harassment, could seriously hurt his career. After a pause, Owen spoke up. Maybe we should try to talk him down. No need to keep fighting online. It's exhausting. Charles nodded without hesitation. Totally agree. It's tiring, typing back every comment. Might as well just have Henry sit here and read them aloud while we're live anyway. The words had barely left his lips when silence fell over the studio. All eyes turned to Charles. Charles blinked, his eyes flickering with sudden fear. Could I have just accidentally said what I was thinking out loud? Edwin groaned, pressing his hands to his face. Sure, Charles's idea was solid, and yeah, I did want to see the chaos unfold. But these thoughts were meant to stay in our heads. Why'd you blurt it out, Charles? How was I supposed to save face for you now? Edwin was genuinely stressed. Gabriel just stared, silent. After a beat, though, he stepped in smoothly, keeping the moment from going awkward. Charles's idea isn't half bad. This way, Henry can respond to those online critics faster. But we should check with Henry first. Still, Gabriel figured Henry wouldn't say no. After all, both Henry and Charles were the kind of people who couldn't resist a good spectacle. Whether it was their own or someone else's. They'd watch with deadpan seriousness, like it was the most important thing in the world. Charles looked at Gabriel, eyes wide with gratitude. Gabriel, seriously, thank you. You're a real lifesaver. Then another thought hit him. But if you ask Henry to come back and read the comments, he'll definitely say yes. The thing is, are you sure you're not worried about your show? Henry's kinda intense when it comes to that stuff. Gabriel squeezed his eyes shut. That kind of worry wasn't something he could just wave away. But now that it had happened, might as well go with the flow. And honestly, Gabriel actually liked how things were turning out. They hadn't spent a dime on promo, no bought hashtags or sponsored placements. But their live stream was still sitting at #1 across the board. Other shows would have killed for that kind of buzz. The only thing left to prep: the PR team. Now that the directors figured out Henry's little account is kosher, they'll be ready in advance. No need to worry too much. Gabriel had finally come around, but the other guests on stage still couldn't wrap their heads around it. They might not have known much about Henry before, but today's been a real eye-opener. Why not just say you want to see Henry go head-to-head with fans live on stream? It's obvious Charles just wants front-row seats to the drama. And instead of turning down Charles' idea, Gabriel actually said it was a solid plan. Gabriel, what are you even thinking? Meanwhile, the live stream chat couldn't hold back. Gabriel, what even am I supposed to say? You're totally spoiling him. Seriously, don't even get me started. Ever since the first episode when Gabriel called Charles his buddy's little brother, he's been treating Charles like royalty. But Edwin, Charles' actual older brother, is sitting right here. Why's Gabriel stepping in to defend him? I don't think Gabriel's really backing Charles. Could he just be here for the drama? Yeah, I'm with you on that. Henry's always entertaining to listen to. Gabriel had spoken up, and Asher, always ready for a good spectacle, jumped right up, volunteering. Then I'll go get Henry. He strode straight toward Henry under everyone's watchful eyes. Isabella, watching Asher leave the frame, hesitated. Do you think Henry'll come? Charles nodded, this time carefully keeping quiet. He's gotta show up. Just look. Gosher just replied to a bunch more fans in the past few minutes. Typing takes effort. Gosher wouldn't miss a chance to go head-to-head with fans live. Not for anything. Sure enough, less than 2 minutes later, everyone saw Henry walking back toward them, right behind Asher. Henry even had a faint smile on his face as he plopped down beside Charles and went straight in. So you're the one who wants me to read your comments? Yeah, Charles said, gritting his teeth. What was the point in denying now? He'd already laid it all out on the table. Henry let out a soft chuckle. All right then. Since we're all here, why don't you guys help me settle this? Tell me if I'm off base. Charles jumped in first. Sure thing, no problem. Gabriel turned to look at Edwin. Edwin instantly covered his face with both hands. Forget it. At this point, could he really stop Charles from playing judge? Not a chance. Let him have his moment. After all, if the sky falls, they'll catch it for him anyway. The viewers in the stream couldn't hold back their laughter. Good, good. Charles, I knew you were a real entertainer. No joke. You can always count on our king of the gossip. Hurry up, hurry up. Let's hear those comments. Exactly, our show Let's Travel Together always delivers a bomb on filming day. And then another one right at the end. Perfect bookends. I'm not wrong. Henry hadn't closed his phone all along. Even when Asher came over, he'd been busy clashing with fans in the comments. Seeing Charles nod, Henry pulled up his screen. All right, let's pick it back up here. This fan says, I've always thought Henry wasn't any good. I knew he'd eventually blow it. Henry raised an eyebrow and smirked. Just took a quick peek at their profile. Honestly, I'm embarrassed compared to your fanboys drama. Yours actually smokes, drinks, and brings in fresh meat to every party. Compared to that, I'm practically saintly. Charles leaned forward instantly. Who's their idol? Henry handed the phone over without hesitation. Charles glanced at it and immediately clamped a hand over his mouth. Oh wow, it's him. Didn't he get busted recently for being spotted at a club with a bunch of hot women? Still, that scandal's been out there for ages. How does he even still have fans? Charles could just lean in to peek at Henry's phone. But the rest of us weren't so lucky. But the internet crowd wasn't fazed. Those with a second device pulled it out, while the rest split their screens. One side on the live stream, the other open to Gosher's Weibo page. Gosher's Weibo was wide open for everyone to see. Every comment laid out like a menu. It didn't take long before they found the exact comment Henry had read. They rushed to that user's profile, and once they did, the whole crowd burst out laughing. Wait, your brother's been roasted alive already, right? I thought he lost all his endorsements because of this. Isn't he basically banned in the industry now? Honey, listen to me. You really don't want to waste your time on someone like that. Exactly, just like Gosher said. Your favorite's not even half as good as Gosher. The netizens were calm and factual in their replies, offering real advice with genuine concern. But then, within minutes, they saw the user delete their own comment. The crowd went wild. Wait, why'd you delete your comment? But my advice was totally sincere. Sister, just listen and switch to a better idol already. Totally. Henry kept reading the comments, and the crowd of gossips stayed glued to both screens. When someone attacked Henry's character, he replied without hesitation, "That's just me, low standards, but I rise when pushed." For the ones who screamed at him personally, Henry fired right back, then reported, blocked, and deleted their comments all in one go. He even added a cherry on top. "Game over now. You're silenced." How's that feel? Some fans nearly passed out from rage. The gossips, on the other hand, were howling with laughter. First, there were still a few fans from other artists jumping in the comments section to rage at Gosher, but by the end, all those voices had faded into silence. It wasn't that fans of the other artists stopped wanting to attack Henry. He just had a mental toughness no one could match. Henry took hits from so many people at once and didn't crack. If anything, he broke more than a few of those fans who dared to reply with insults. The confidence these fans had early on was long gone. Some even couldn't help but type, "Honestly, Henry's got a point. You don't get attacked by flies if you're not a rotten egg." Henry saw that comment and just grinned. "Exactly. Look, did I ever go after Charles? That guy's honest and straightforward. No drama. No need to drag me into your examples." Gabriel Edwin thought in his head. Now you know what it feels like to be pulled out of nowhere for a spotlight. As more fans from other artists cracked under pressure, Gosher's comment section slowly got overrun by casual onlookers just here for the chaos. One post read, "Gosher, quick question. Do you think I'm cute or my friend is?" Even included 2 photos to make it easier. Henry fired back, "Both ugly." Next, this user was fired up. "Gosher, you're the real deal. After your comment, I feel totally refreshed. Thanks, Gosher." Other netizens, "Don't let him get away with it. Oh my god, I can't even handle this anymore." The comment section was spiraling out of control, so much so that the guests noticed it too. Owen looked surprised. "So no one's actually yelling at you anymore?" Henry shot him a look. "You seem kinda disappointed?" Owen quickly shook his head. No, that's not what I meant." Asher sighed, scrolling through the comments. Who knew reading a few replies would actually flip the whole vibe? Maybe I could try. Charles didn't even hesitate. "Stop dreaming. You couldn't learn it if you tried." Henry's got a venomous tongue. Truly one in a million. Henry wasn't holding back. "You? A short fuse like that? I'd worry you'd end up smashing your screen just to vent." Charles snorted. "Spot on. Brutally accurate." Asher pulled his gaze from Charles, frowning. "I'm not that petty, am I?" Isaiah gave him a quiet look. "See? You're already annoyed, furious." By 10 p.m., an hour after Henry posted his apology tweet, the comment thread had completely flipped its vibe. The top comment was from that guy who'd gotten a good roast earlier, and now it was flooded with reactions from other bystanders. "Never thought you'd turn out to be this kind of person. So that's why I've always liked Henry. Thank you for the clarity." What? Don't go overboard here. And more top replies were just stunned. "Give me a mouth like Henry's, anytime. Henry, my new favorite mouthpiece in the entertainment world. Next time I need to roast someone, I'm just gonna dig up Gosher's Weibo." Then Henry's fans finally snapped back into reality and left their own comments. "Gosher, go ahead and fly. Just know I've got your back if shit hits the fan." The internet couldn't help but burst out laughing. "So you guys actually accepted Henry's new persona that fast?" Henry's fans shot back. "You haven't seen us calling him Gosher yet? Out in public, I'm a Henry fan, but around industry folks, I'm all about Gosher." The crowd laughed even harder. "Wait, so you're actually treating Henry and Gosher as 2 different people now? But Henry might not let you get away with that, you know." To which Henry's fans replied, "No worries. We're mentally as tough as Gosher. We follow the lead of our main guy. When things go south, Gosher'll carry the weight for us." The onlookers lost it again. By the end of the taping, Henry had gained over 200,000 new followers, and his numbers kept climbing steadily. The other guests let out a collective sigh. relieved, but also genuinely happy. Honestly, Henry's actually pretty great. No one wants to miss seeing him next time around. Charles was especially relieved by this. If Henry weren't here, the show'd lose half its fun. Once taping wrapped up, guests were free to leave. Of course, they could stay overnight in the tent if they didn't feel like heading out at night. Just pack up and head off bright and early tomorrow. Charles had no rush to go home. He had a light schedule. Edwin was also on break, so the brothers decided to stay in the tent for one more night. Back from the shower, Charles ran into Henry at the entrance of the tent. "You're not leaving?" Charles asked, surprised. Henry nodded. "Yeah, I was just waiting for you to say thanks." "Huh, thanks for me? Why? Thanks for suggesting we read the comments." Seeing Charles looking completely confused, Henry wasn't surprised at all. He smiled casually and said, "Anyway, thanks a lot. I'll be off now. Catch you next time." With that, he turned and walked straight toward the car parked nearby. Charles was even more confused, but no one was around to explain. He shrugged it off, deciding Henry must have been thanking him for the idea about reading comments. After all, without Charles's suggestion, the online backlash probably wouldn't have turned so fast. Once he'd settled it in his head, he let it go. Most of the guests had other plans. By the time everyone else left, only Owen, Harper, and Charles Edwin remained. The crew's schedule wasn't tight that day, so after the others had gone, the four of them wandered around nearby, chatting late into the night before finally turning in. Next morning, Charles was yanked out of his sleeping bag by Edwin. Owen heard the racket and couldn't resist peeking in. One look, and he burst out laughing. "When did you start being this hard to wake up?" Still half asleep, Charles mumbled, "I didn't have to get up before. Today's not a recording day, is it?" "No recording. But we're still going home." Edwin raised his voice. Charles groaned, struggling to stay alert. I get it. Lower your voice, will you? You're loud. Would you even wake up if I didn't?" Edwin shot back, exasperated. "Should have filmed you like this and sent it to your fans." Too tired to argue, Charles dragged himself into his clothes, brushed his teeth, then followed Edwin out to the car. They still had half a day's drive to the airport, and Charles slept straight through it. He didn't fully wake up until right before boarding the plane. Just before stepping off the aircraft, Charles suddenly remembered something and asked Edwin, "Hey, are you going home later?" "Nope," Edwin said, shaking his head. Edwin usually had too many shoots to handle. He mostly lived in his own place outside the family home, only going back during holidays or breaks. Speaking of which, Edwin added, "You should probably get your own place too. You're just starting out, fewer gigs now, but it'll pick up soon. How about buying into the same complex I live in?" Charles blinked. "Wait, are you gonna buy it for me?" Edwin gave a dry look. "I'll cover half. Figure out the other half with Dad." He'd paid for his own place entirely from his acting money. After all, women need to stand on their own 2 feet. No exceptions, even for Charles. Charles grinned. "Thanks, second brother. You're the best, but I'm not in a rush to move out. Especially not with Jack's childhood sweetheart still unresolved. What if he brings her back while I've already moved?" "Wait. Speaking of that childhood sweetheart, I just remembered. Wasn't the thing I forgot at the Yang family event about her? Why didn't we run into her at the banquet?" Edwin had just closed his eyes again when he heard Charles' words. His eyes snapped open. Yeah, Charles had mentioned it before they left. But at the banquet, they hadn't seen this so-called childhood sweetheart anywhere. Could it be? "Let me check the time." Charles pulled up his notes, then froze frowny face. "It's really soon. I gotta get back. I can't let her end up at our place already." Edwin shot upright. "All right, forget it. I'm coming with you." "Charles? Huh, what made you change your mind?" Edwin resettled his eyes, shutting them again. "It doesn't matter if we're staying at home. What really counts is the drama at home." And he was genuinely curious. Just who was this little sweetheart that had managed to wreck his parents' marriage? Doubtful, unless he sees it with his own eyes. Edwin was smug inside. After stepping off the plane, Edwin followed Charles into the car headed home. An hour later, the car pulled into the underground garage of the Hua family estate. Charles stepped out of the car, his eyes scanning the area. Is it really him home at a time like this? Edwin, the car, Charles said, pointing ahead to a Bentley. Maybe he came back to drop off some files for Dad. Edwin said, "Come on, let's head up." Charles nodded and didn't question it, following Edwin into the elevator. As soon as the elevator doors opened, an unfamiliar woman's voice rang out. Is that Edwin and Charles back? Charles blinked, stunned. This isn't Charlotte's voice, is it? Edwin nodded. No way, Charlotte never talks that soft. So, Charles stepped out of the elevator, his eyes landing on a stranger in the living room. His pupils dilated instantly. Little childhood sweetheart. Jack's whole body jolted as he was about to introduce her. Who the hell are you calling little sweetheart? Michael and Charlotte both turned their gazes toward the woman beside them. Michael, her? She was Jack's cousin, wasn't she? The one he'd brought back after moving abroad? Oh right. She came back because things had gone south for her. So in that case, she really is the little sweetheart? Charlotte raised an eyebrow and glanced at Jack. Jack was sweating bullets. Don't even go there. He hadn't spoken to that cousin in decades. It's not true. I didn't do anything. Jack and Charlotte were still staring at each other when the woman on the sofa stood up, gliding toward Charles and Edwin with a warm smile. You must have had a long journey. Come on over and sit down. Her voice was soft, her face alight with kindness. You'd never guess they were strangers, if you didn't know any better. Charles didn't move forward. He actually took a cautious half-step back. Wait, wasn't little Mimi just back from abroad? Today's her first day here. She's the guest, not the hostess. Why does she act like she owns the place? Charles shot a look at Jack, eyes full of reproach. I get that her family just went under and her husband left her. It's rough, but you can't just bring anyone into the house. Jack, gentleman killer. Every move cuts deep. Jack felt a sharp pang in his chest. No way. When did I ever get soft like that? Charles, stick to the facts. No wild accusations. And Sophia wasn't even my doing. That thought set him off. He turned sharply and glared at Michael. Honestly, this has nothing to do with me. Sophia showed up at her family's office claiming she was a relative. Michael had no choice but to meet her. Right then, Charlotte happened to be in the office. Michael gave Jack a look, deadpan and exasperated. Mom brought her home. Why aren't you blaming Charlotte? Jack turned away, avoiding Michael's judgmental stare. What does Charlotte have to do with any of this? She just saw an old friend after decades. She invited her over for dinner, that's all. This whole mess is Michael's fault. Charlotte watched the silent exchange between father and son. Her hand tucked to the side, clenched into a fist so tight she dug her nails into her own arm just to keep from laughing out loud. She couldn't really be blamed. She'd known Sophia all along, and after not seeing her in decades, it was only natural she invited her over for dinner. How was she supposed to know it would turn out like this? Edwin had no clue what Jack and Michael were thinking, but he nodded along with Charles, who'd just made a sharp point. He stepped back half a pace too, his expression cooling slightly as he glanced at their still parents in the living room. Mom, Dad, who's this? The question was blunt, disrespectful even, and completely brushed off the woman's greeting and concern. Her face fell, just for a second, but Charles caught it. He let out another quiet sigh. Oh, of course, another drama queen. Sure, another drama queen in the making. Then he turned to Charlotte. Charlotte, are you two guests? She shot Jack a look. Didn't he realize he was supposed to introduce her? Did they really expect the kids to just stand there all day? Jack dragged his feet, clearly not happy about it. But he stood up with Charlotte and walked toward Charles and Edwin. This is kind of my cousin, he said, voice flat. Her mom was the goddaughter of Grandma's best friend. She just got back yesterday. Call her Sophia. After that, he gave Sophia a quick rundown on Charles and Edwin. The novel had covered Sophia's background thoroughly, so Charles didn't need any introduction. But one thing still puzzled him. According to the timeline, Sophia should have reached out to Jack as soon as she landed. Why is he saying she just got back yesterday? Jack glanced at Charlotte, same confusion on her face. Then Charles suddenly snapped into realization. No wonder Sophia didn't show up at the Young family dinner. But honestly, she's really got it bad for Jack, showing up here just 2 days after landing. Could she be had a crush on him since childhood? Jack was speechless. What even is this? The Song family emigrated when Sophia was 3. She hasn't set foot in the country since. The last time I saw her was at Charlotte's wedding, a 3-year-old kid. Come on. Jack shot a wounded look at Charlotte. Charlotte bit her lip, pretending to be mad. He was totally innocent. Why was she even mad at him? Across the room, Sophia had already smoothed her expression and offered Charles and Edwin a bright smile. Well, isn't it strange how fast kids grow? I'm sorry I haven't been around. Just look at you two now, she said, glancing at Jack with a soft tone. Honestly, don't blame your cousins. It's my fault they don't remember me. I've been gone too long. Jack was already stewing inside, and with guests around, he couldn't explain himself outright. Then hearing Sophia's careful words only lit the fire. You really shouldn't say things like that. Sophia thought Jack was comforting her. Her smile widened. Cousin, which part of me seemed angry with the kids? And let's be real, Edwin and Charles haven't seen you, but neither has Michael. Jack's voice grew sharper, his tone losing all patience. You've been abroad for years. How many times have you actually come back? Not even at my mother's funeral did any of you show up. Now suddenly, when the families broke, it's time to crawl back to relatives. Silence dropped over the mansion hall. Charles couldn't hold back a snort of laughter in his head. My God, how did Jack catch on so fast to what the childhood sweetheart was really saying? If Jack's always this cold to his little love interest, then I'm actually fine with that. Jack had been furious a moment ago, but hearing Charles' inner monologue made him feel both smug and strangely uneasy. What the hell did Charles think he was? Anyway, he'd lived half a lifetime. Hadn't he seen every kind of fake sweetness out there? He knew a tea-sipping manipulator when he saw one. Charles had no idea what Jack was thinking. He kept his eyes glued on Sophia, watching her reaction like a hawk. Sophia was visibly stunned. She'd only meant to hint at her annoyance. After all, Charles and Edwin had practically ignored her earlier, and she hadn't exactly felt respected. In normal circumstances, wouldn't elders just scold a younger for being rude? So why was Jack turning the tables on her like this, and bringing up the funeral? Like she wasn't loyal or filial enough. Sophia had never in her life met someone so blunt, so unafraid to strip her of dignity. Her smile vanished, and the redness welled up in her eyes. Cousin, oh come on. Seriously, you're still crying at your age? Charles looked horrified. Charlotte shot Jack a mock-stern glance, then said, Really now, what kind of thing is that to say? Of course Sophia and her family couldn't come. It must have been all the company's business matters. They were tied up. Sophia's tears hovered, just barely held back. She managed a weak smile toward Charlotte. Sister-in-law, you're really the only one who, now that the company's bankrupt and free from work, they're right back here. Charlotte finished it for her. Charles, cough, cough, cough. I almost lost it. Cough, cough, man. I choked on my own spit. Edwin turned away fast, hiding his grin behind a concerned hand as he patted Charles's back. You okay? Charles shook his head. And no, I'm fine. Hurry up. What's Sophia's face look like right now? I need to see it. Sophia stood frozen in place, stunned that Jack and Charlotte had just knocked her down so thoroughly. Her face cycled through shades of red and pale, emotions flickering across her eyes. She couldn't even cry anymore. Her hands clenched tightly at her sides, and after a long pause, she managed to whisper, I know it's probably too late to say this now. What we did back then was wrong. I'm sorry, but cousin, sister-in-law, I hope you can understand. When William and I first married, his family situation was a mess. I truly didn't have the time to come back then. Enough, Charlotte cut her off, giving Jack a subtle nod. She wanted to figure out if Sophia had really come here for Jack. Pushing too hard might just scare her off. No fun in that. Jack picked up on Charlotte's cue, sighing inwardly but still stepping forward. It's all in the past. We're not going to reopen old wounds, he said, glancing at Charles and Edwin. You two should head upstairs and change quickly. Everyone's waiting for you downstairs for dinner. Charles was practically glowing with amusement. He nodded eagerly. Yeah, I'll be right down after I change. Once Charles and Edwin had changed and come back downstairs, Jack, Charlotte, and Michael gathered around the dining table. Charles glanced around, noticing Sophia wasn't there. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. Wait, didn't she say she'd stay for dinner? Did Jack and Charlotte somehow pull some new move after we left and scare her off? Charlotte found it amusing. Dream on. After all, Sophia had just joined them at the Hua family. She wasn't going to bail so easily. Even though Charlotte hadn't spent much time with her, she'd heard from Luna when she was still alive that Sophia seemed haughty on the surface but was actually ruthless when it came to getting what she wanted. After their family moved abroad, they didn't have a solid foundation, and Sophia's ex-husband William came from one of Europe's most prestigious noble families. Normally, he'd never accept her, yet she managed it anyway. Just now, their words had been cutting and clearly mocking Sophia. But she hadn't flinched. Instead, she played the humble victim. You could only admire her cunning. No wonder Charles always said that, in the original story, Sophia had torn their family apart. Charlotte's gaze swept over everyone at the table, finally settling on Charles. A quiet smirk curled at her lips. Too bad for Sophia. No matter what she tries, it'll all be for nothing with Charles in the family. Why were you staring at me like that, Charlotte? Charles caught her gaze and slowly blinked. You're not missing me too much after all these days apart, are you? Charlotte thought about the string of trending topics she'd seen over the past few days and let out a quiet sigh in her mind. Okay, maybe just a little. Still, she needed to explain. Sophia's in the restroom. Let's wait for her. I got it. Good thing she didn't leave. Charles exhaled in relief and pulled out his phone to check the notes on the plot he jotted down. After all, we're the main antagonists in this story. The scene where the little childhood friend asks to stay with the Hua family is pretty detailed. Let me see. Found it. So that's how it happened. It all makes sense now. In the original story, the second brother didn't recognize Mason for who he really was and cut ties with the family. Once he left, Jack and Charlotte were devastated. They had a massive fight over him. They never reconciled afterward and stayed in a cold war, even arguing again on the day of the banquet at the Yangs. Edwin flinched at that and quickly took a sip of water to hide his discomfort. Jack gave him a sharp look but said nothing, waiting quietly for Charles's next words. Since they were still at odds, Jack and Charlotte didn't stick together at the banquet. That's when the little childhood friend showed up and recognized Jack. Talk about perfect timing. Charles gritted his teeth. The rest of the Hua family nodded in agreement. You said it. She showed up right during their biggest fight. And then, what happened next? What happened next? Then Charles' thoughts kept going. Jack hadn't even been with his childhood sweetheart long when the Yang family fire broke out. He got hurt escaping the blaze, and she rushed him to the hospital. Without so much as a word to Charlotte. That's going too far. That was a fire. Charlotte thought of Jack right away. She was terrified. She even started to rush into the burning building before someone held her back. The outcome could have been disastrous. Charles read those words and felt his chest tighten. That childhood sweetheart really went too far. Not just too far, she's got serious game. Gotta give her credit. Her timing was flawless. Edwin and Michael both frowned at the same time. Jack froze, then quickly grabbed Charlotte's hand. With Charles watching, he didn't say anything out loud. Instead, he typed a message on his phone. You've got my word. I'll never argue with you again. Charlotte had been steamed earlier, but seeing those words appear on the screen, her lips twitched. Almost smiling. Charles' inner monologue pressed on. When Charlotte finally made it to the hospital, Jack was still unconscious after surgery. The childhood sweetheart acted all cozy with him. Of course, Charlotte blew her top. Then when Jack woke up from anesthesia, they fought again. He was crushed that she didn't care about his injury. She was furious he'd been so close to the other woman. After that fight, Charlotte never came back, not once, until the day he was discharged. By then, she'd even planned to talk things through. But when she got to the hospital, Jack was nowhere in sight. Just the childhood sweetheart. Charles' voice shot up. And here's the kicker. She was wearing that wedding ring. The one secretly sold by Auntie too. The whole family gasped. Misunderstanding piled on misunderstanding. This wasn't just bad timing. It was full-on divorce fuel. Phew, thank goodness. So far, nothing they were worried about had actually happened. Charles let out a quiet sigh of relief too. Thank goodness none of it came true. Just then, Sophia's soft voice floated through the air. Why hasn't anyone started eating yet? Are you waiting for me? Every head at the table turned toward her in unison. Sophia paused mid-step. Was it just her imagination? Or had the tension between them somehow grown sharper? Her stomach dropped. No way, she'd just gotten back. She hadn't even had a proper chance to talk to Jack alone yet. How could they already figure out her real intentions? Impossible, unless they all have mind-reading powers. If the Hua family had known what Sophia was thinking right then, they'd probably all have laughed out loud. Sorry to say, some of them actually do have that power, just not reading Sophia's mind. Sophia steadied herself, took a breath, and quickly slid into her seat. Sorry I kept you waiting. Charlotte broke into a warm smile first. No worries, everyone's here now. let's dig in. The Hua family didn't believe in silent meals. Charlotte was curious about Charles and Edwin's episode, so she asked a couple of questions. This installment did touch on a sensitive topic, so naturally, the conversation ended up circling back to Caleb. Charles perked up instantly, turning toward Edwin with sudden interest. Edwin cleared his throat. What's so interesting about that? Michael gave a slow, sly smile. He was your ex-rival, after all. Why wouldn't it be worth talking about? Charlotte couldn't hold back a chuckle. Charlotte said, to be honest, I never thought you'd clear things up on camera like that. Edwin sighed. What could I do? If I hadn't spoken up, Caleb would have dragged me and Charles through the whole episode. Would have been a nightmare. Charles nodded along. Yeah, for real. The family carried on chatting, but Sophia barely got a word in. After a pause, she asked, what kind of show is it? I've been out of the country so long. I don't even follow these things anymore. How come Edwin's co-starring with his ex-rival? As soon as she spoke, every head in the Hua family snapped toward her. Edwin waved it off. All in the past. Doesn't matter now. Just then, the chef set down a platter of lobster. Edwin said, try some, Sophia. His tone was so clearly dismissive that a flicker of discomfort crossed Sophia's face. Staring at the mountain of lobster, Sophia said, all right then. Should I start by cracking one for Edwin? Edwin shook his head fast. No way, no need. Then Charles. Sophia looked at him hopefully. Charles shook his head so hard it looked like a bobblehead. Sophia, Charlotte taught me from day one. No help, no excuses. I eat what I want, and I crack my own shell. Seriously, Sophia just shrugged. Fine, then I'll eat on my own. Charlotte glanced down and bit back a laugh. Suddenly, Charles' voice cut in, puzzled. Wait, hold on. Why does that ring on little Qingmei's finger look so familiar? The Hua family all froze in unison. The Hua family's dining table was round, with Edwin and Michael seated directly across from Sophia. Farther away, they could only catch a vague glimpse of the ring's design. Funny thing, this design rings a bell. Michael and Edwin exchanged a glance. No way, Sophia was sitting right next to Charlotte, so all Charlotte had to do was tilt her head slightly to see clearly. But didn't she have nothing on her hands when we first came in? Why suddenly wearing a ring? Charlotte's mind raced. She couldn't help but lean in slightly. That was when Charles' voice cracked out in horror. No way. Can there really be two wedding rings? Charlotte's eyes widened. Could it actually be her own diamond? But that doesn't make sense. Charlotte turned to look at Jack. Jack looked just as stunned. It's impossible. This ring was custom made by him, with a unique serial code. There's only one in the world. So what about the ring on Sophia's finger? Charles knew how precious Charlotte's ring was, so he caught on right away. Could it be a fake? In the original story, that ring was what broke up Jack and Charlotte. The auction house has records. Anthony bought it. Amelia even flaunted it right in front of us. Neither me nor Charlotte could have mistaken it. So, because the childhood friend didn't get Charlotte's ring, she wasn't at the Yang family dinner and had to rush back yesterday? Michael frowned. So this is how a butterfly effect changed the whole plot. Edwin thought that made perfect sense. But he still couldn't figure out why Sophia was so fixated on the ring. Charlotte figured it out in an instant. She didn't wear it to work, but now she's showing it off. Clearly trying to get my attention. Too bad the ring isn't actually Charlotte's wedding band. Sophia probably didn't even know. Otherwise, she wouldn't be wearing it so openly. Charles realized the same thing. Sophia was trying to stir trouble between Jack and Charlotte all along. Too bad she didn't realize she'd ended up with a fake. She only saw the real ring once, at their wedding, and never came back to the country since. But if Charlotte were to admit right now that this asterisk is asterisk her ring, and casually mention why she even sold her wedding band, Charles couldn't help but let out a quiet laugh. How could I be this mischievous? The others all had smiles in their eyes. Who says Charles is bad? Charles keeping family peace. Spot on. Sophia trying to break up her parents. Pure villainy. Not long after, the chef kept bringing out more seafood, oysters and king crab, to be exact. These dishes had already been prepped before serving, but their size still meant you needed to use your hands a bit while eating. When everyone had eaten most of their meal, Charlotte suddenly tilted her head toward Sophia and said, "Hey, that ring on your finger. Why does it look so familiar? It's really pretty." Sophia had purposely slipped the ring back on after washing her hands, spending the whole lunch just waiting for Charlotte to say this. A flicker of triumph flashed in her eyes before she casually raised her hand and smiled. "Yeah, I like it too. It's from someone really important to me. She left it vague, then glanced toward Jack as if by accident. Charlotte and the others didn't miss a thing. Charles shook his head in quiet amazement. She's good at this. She'd have had us all doubting Jack by now if Charlotte hadn't known where the diamond was. Too bad. Charles watched with a gleam of amusement. Then Charlotte laughed and said, "Looks almost exactly like my wedding ring. Don't you think?" She was talking directly to Jack. Jack, of course, played along. He leaned in for a look and nodded straight away. "Yeah, it's your wedding ring." Sophia hadn't expected Charlotte to admit it outright. Shouldn't she have just pretended not to notice? What was Charlotte even trying to do? Before Sophia could figure out how to respond, Charlotte asked again, "Do you know where the guy who gave it to you bought it?" Sophia's face went pale. Charlotte hadn't mistaken the ring's origin. Her whole plan was unraveling. She blinked once, then said, "I don't know. He didn't tell me when he gave it to me." Charlotte. "Oh, really? This ring was one I put up for sale not long ago. Who knew it'd end up in your guy's hands?" Sophia froze. "Wait. What? She actually sold it herself? So wearing it today was a total blunder." Sophia glanced at Jack, only to realize he wasn't even looking at her. She clenched her jaw inward. This move hadn't worked after all. Now what? She'd paid a pretty penny for this ring herself. Was she really supposed to just hand it over because Charlotte said it was her wedding band? Sophia kept a tight grip on her expression, burying every emotion deep. To keep the conversation going, she asked, "A wedding ring's such an important thing. Why'd you suddenly decide to sell it?" Charles was barely holding back a laugh. "Charlotte actually thought of that. I can't wait to see Sophia's face when she finds out the truth." Michael and Edwin were both grinning, their lips twitching in anticipation. Charlotte turned her head but said nothing, just gave a look that spoke volumes. Sophia felt uneasy. With her plans unraveling and her mind spinning, she blurted out, "What? Is it something you can't talk about?" "Not exactly," Charlotte sighed. "It's just kind of embarrassing. My cousin, the one who never pulls her weight, stole my jewelry and sold it off. She happened to take my wedding ring that day, and I caught her red-handed." "But if you caught her in the act, why'd you still put the ring up for sale?" She instinctively traced her finger over the ring on her middle finger, then swept a quick glance across the table at the others. Sophia froze the moment she looked around. Everyone else's expressions were oddly tense. Could they all know Charlotte had actually sold the ring herself? Sophia bit her lip instinctively. Was she suddenly the one looking ridiculous? Then Charlotte cleared her throat, her face tight with discomfort. "Because the way she stole the jewelry was just too gross. She'd swallow them whole to hide them from me. This ring was no different." "No different? What do you mean, same thing?" Sophia's mind went blank for a split second. The next instant, she clamped her hand over her mouth and bolted for the bathroom. Charles couldn't hold it in anymore. He burst out laughing.